Hello and welcome to the Altar Project. Today guys, we will be adding another extension to the World Heritage Site series, and we'll be traveling to France to get some inspiration from the brilliant Pont du Gard. This aqueduct dates all the way back to when the Romans were thriving and is really a medicine to the eye as it looks absolutely stunning. So on today's agenda, we're aiming to create our own version of the Pont du Gard here in Altar's capital city, Alhaim. So without further ado, let's go. So we're back at Dawnfield, or more commonly known as Alhaim's agricultural district. This massive wheat field supplies the majority of Alhaim's wheat products and is also known throughout the land as it is imported to all corners of Altar as well. As I said in my urban farm video, I struggled a lot with deciding how the massive field should look, and honestly, even after making the video, I'm not too sure if I like the current look of the farm or not. Mainly this wall. Originally this structure was going to be a small botanical garden, however I had a hard time deciding the type of building I wanted to be, so at the very end it became this Pokemon Stadium looking thing. Getting straight to the point, I didn't really like the look of this facade at all. Therefore in today's video we'll be replacing this wall with a massive aqueduct inspired by the Pont du Gard. We begin with completely taking down this wall, carefully removing the stained glass and erasing the top portion. I left the bottom half purposely because I thought the length between each pillar fit well with the length I wanted the arch to be for the aqueduct. Following the original Pont du Gard, I then built 3 lines to label the height of each level of the aqueduct. Pont du Gard as well is made up of 3 levels, so I wanted to recreate that in my build as well. It was also at this stage where I decided how far I wanted the aqueduct to reach. I didn't want it to be too short, but also didn't want it to continue endlessly either. While extending the aqueduct, I then arrived at a pretty tall hill that seemed like a reasonable location to end our build. I also borrowed the arc pattern from the Pont du Gard as well. In other words, for every single arc on the bottom level, I made another arc directly above on the middle level, and built 3 more arcs above that one on the top level. The rest of the aqueduct is really just a copy and paste of that pattern. Now what is crazy is that we're still in the setting up stages of making our giant aqueduct. We can finally move on with decorating after we add more shape to our build. This meant building an actual arc instead of leaving it as a square and filling any vacant spaces that are on the inside or on the surface of the wall as well. With that done, we could finally move on to decorating the aqueduct, and my god was I troubled. It took me hours to think of a good design that had a good color variation that wasn't too punchy. Since I was building the aqueduct using sandstone materials, I didn't want it to look too desert-like either. I also wanted to have a nice balance of detail. Not too simple, yet not too detailed. And so my final design turned out to be like this. Not too many color variations, however enough to make it not look like a flat Minecraft wall. Added some cut sandstone bricks which don't stick out as much as they would have if I were to place them horizontally instead of diagonally. I also added a small column in between each of the arcs as well as a small keystone at the very top. Considering the limited variations of blocks I was using, I think I was able to make a surprisingly successful design for the bottom level of our aqueduct. Now that I have a basic design palette in mind, decorating the top 2 levels became much easier. I used the same blocks and used similar decorations, thus I didn't have to spend too much time building the top 2 levels. So really all there was left to do was copy and paste each level over and over again until I reached the very end. But before we go on and end today's video, how about we talk a little more about Pont du Gard itself, since its history is quite fascinating. Pont du Gard was inscribed as a World Heritage Site in the year 1985, and while I say aqueduct, Pont du Gard was built more so for the purpose of a bridge that allows the aqueduct, in this case the Nîmes Aqueduct, to cross over the Gordon River. This structure stands 50 meters tall and is truly a masterpiece built by Roman architects and hydraulic engineers during the 1st century AD. The Pont du Gard at its longest is 360 meters long, which is close to the height of the Empire State Building, which is about 380. And compared to that, the Nîmes Aqueduct resting on top spans up to 50 kilometers long, which fits about 139 Pont du Gards. The Nîmes Aqueduct's primary function was to supply the city of Nîmes with water. The Pont du Gard is constructed out of limestone blocks, the same thing the pyramids are made out of, except according to the Pont du Gard website, Pont du Gard's limestone seems to be softer? I don't know if anybody actually knows whether the Pont du Gard and the pyramids are made out of the same material. Please let me know. Considering how massive the Pont du Gard is, it is kinda crazy when you imagine the amount of labor it cost to build not just the Pont du Gard itself, which was built in just 5 years, but the rest of the aqueduct as well. The Pont du Gard is truly a magnificent work of architecture, which quite literally bridges the present and the ancient past. So what is an aqueduct without water? While ancient, I wanted our aqueduct to still be functioning, therefore I carved out a small line on the top that allows water to flow from the hill in the southeast up to Alhaim. Finally, I looked back at our recreation of the Pont de Gard and realized that I wanted perhaps another touch of color. While I didn't like the idea of making the rest of the aqueduct white as well, I did like how this part of the aqueduct was different from the rest. So I kept it as it was. Even added a little history behind it as well. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my Lantern Boulevard video, however at one time in Altar's history, Alhaim once functioned as a refugee during a great war and suffered a great amount of damage during that period. Many marks present to this day hold testimony to that time, including our massive aqueduct here, that had a whole section of it blown off. As a memorial to those who passed away during the bombing, the people of Alhaim decided to rebuild this part of Aqueduct white, which represents the city's color. So what do you guys think of this aqueduct? Do you like the lore behind it? Should I change the color? If you guys have anything else you want to see me build, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment sections below, and I'll see if I can build it. So without further ado, let's move on to the cinematic.
But I kept searching for your trace in the dark, losing myself in the endless memories of the end right from the start. You're an obsession in my head, I can't forget your eyes. Your kisses burn my skin, I feel so empty inside. But I kept searching for your trace in the dark, losing myself in the endless memories of the end right from the start. You're an obsession in my head.
So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe. Next week we'll be doing part 2 of Altar's quiz, this time talking all about history and real life that influenced my builds in Altar, so do look forward to that. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed, take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Au revoir. Did I butcher the pronunciation? Probably did. Yeah. Sorry.